The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
This is the main event.
This is your main event, Mark's Podcast. I'm your first host, lifelong wrestling fan, former radio guy, cat dad, and the quintessential stud muffin. I am Troy. And with me, as always, is the main event collector and figure hunting warrior. He's the ECW, Encyclopedia of Classic Wrestling, and the Hollywood Nova to my big Stevie Cool. What's up, brother? It's Greg.
I use the Simon system.
Oh yeah, you order a big helping of your Simon Shakes.
I know it.
I think I told you this. I have a Simon Dean toy, a Jax toy.
Why?
Why not, Greg? He came with the Simon Shakes and a cooler. I think he came with a cooler. He came with the shakes. I know that. It's the one in his blue. You know, so the original. I had to get the classics, man.
Man. Okay.
I also have a Steven Richards toy. Not a Stevie, Steven. Got that back when RTC was still a thing. So it was so yes, to answer your question, I've always gotten the top guys. My figures.
Clearly.
Yeah. Anyway, Stevie Richards is on the show, by the way, that we're about to be talking about. And for once, we're talking about ECW, and I don't want to bash my brains in. So
Kind of rare that happens.
I know it's kind of weird. I don't think we've ever talked about an ECW show before where I was like kind of excited to talk about it and not in a sick, sadistic kind of weird way. Like, oh man, this show sucked. I can't wait to talk to Greg about it. But no, this one was really good. So, you know, I think that calls for the official in celebration. Because, like I said, I don't think it's ever happened. It will never happen
again.
Most likely not. I haven't watched a ton of ECW, admittedly. I've watched a handful of it for the show, but this is the best ECW show I've ever seen, and it's not even close, really. So, some of that stuff
not even on the ground. It's such in hell. So,
yeah, right. I mean, the stuff in like the later years, like towards the end of '99 and in 2000, it was okay. I didn't. If I had to watch some ECW, most of the time that would be it. And oddly enough, that's when WCW was really in the toilet, and ECW was like kind of watchable. So weird, man. Our friend Kyle over at the Apron Bump just actually reviewed an ECW show. I think it was from '96.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, I haven't heard it yet.
The show. His episode was. I don't remember the show.
Yeah, right. I will say this. I've never seen that show that he reviewed, but it was from '96, and he said that he compared '96 ECW to 2000 WCW. So I'm like, that bad, eh? I mean, you and I have watched some like 95 and 96 ECW where we're like, dude, this barely qualifies as a wrestling show. Like, what is going on? So I don't know.
Remember that scene in Return of the Jedi? When he's like, Luke, like, we're together again, huh? Miss it. How are we doing? Same as always. Not bad, huh?
Wow.
That's what I think about ECW. Same as always. Not bad, huh?
Yeah, right. Yeah, ECW is a different animal, man. It's the land of extreme. And I've always held up Lawler's insult as the real name of it, extremely crappy wrestling. But you'll occasionally get some gems here. I'll be damned.
This was as close to a gem as you can get.
Right. And you know, I'll be damned. I know I'm less hard on this guy than you are, but Sabu was actually in a really good match on this card. I mean, I'm not going to attribute that.
Taz was in a great match.
Well, Sabu was in it. I was going to say I'm not going to attribute it all to Sabu, but he was in it. So I don't know. It was really good. Most of this card was either good to great. You know, it was. We'll get into all that. But there is plenty of news to get to, which we'll touch on here after this first break. Real quick, though, I do want to let you know about our new sponsor of the podcast. Today's episode is sponsored by Mahler Bros Golf. We all want to look good on the golf course, but it often comes at the expense of feeling good. Mahler Bros Golf has polos that look good and feel good. With their lightweight and stretchy material that hugs your body, you will feel cool while looking just as cool. Their polos are guaranteed to make you look better, but it's up to you to golf better. On a hot summer day on the golf course, there's no polo that you would rather wear than Mahler Bros Golf signature polos. Mahler Bros Golf has a large catalog of polos with designs for those who want a loud design and others for those who want a subtle and sleek-looking design. They also have fun t-shirts, hats, tumblers, and so much more to make your golfing experience better. Use code BELLYUP at MahlerBros.com for 15% off. Mahler Bros doesn't just have polos, by the way. They have really fun golf t-shirts that you can wear anywhere. Maybe like that barbecue that your family invited you to, or even that get-together with your friends. Maybe a night out on the town if you want to have fun while looking good and also impressing the local ladies. Make sure to let them know where you got that shirt and wear it proudly. Don't wait to try out your new favorite golf apparel. Upgrade your golf attire with Mahler Bros. Get 15% off at MahlerBros.com with code BELLYUP. That's 15% off at MAHLER Bros.com with code BELLYUP. Turn heads on the golf course or wherever you wear Mahler Bros polos. Mahler Bros Golf. Look good, feel good, play good. But now we're going to get into our first break here, where we're going to tell you about our great merchandise, not to sound biased or anything, but you can go check that out over on our Bonfire and Redbubble stores. We'll give you the links in this first break. Also, we'll be telling you about some of our favorite podcasts and all of our breaks all along this the show here. So go check them out as well. And we don't have promos for them.
Go down to Puckberg and jerk the curtain, take the apron bump. Boom.
Well, we don't have promos for these two, so yeah, like you mentioned the one, definitely go check out Curtin Jurgen from good friend of the show. He's been a guest co-host a couple of times. Jacob Grandi, you can check him out on our YouTube channel, which I would prefer you go subscribe to that because we have a ton of stuff on there. I'm always working to put new content up there. And the other one is Wrestling Addicts, a good guy, trying to get him on the show sometime. They cover more current stuff, and I'll tell you what, man, they live full, busy, fulfilled lives and watch a ton of wrestling on top of that. Good for them. It's good stuff, and they give you the good, the bad, and the indifferent on all the current wrestling. So go check that out. While we're evergreen and we cover the retro stuff, as does Apron Bump, they got the goods on all things current around literally around the world with wrestling. So. But we'll get into our first break. When we come back, it's news and notes. Follow the Main Event Marks at Facebook.com/Main Event Marks Pod, on Twitter at Main Event _Marks, and on Instagram at Main Event _Marks and at Main Event Collector. Get ready to rumble in your new Main Event Marks merchandise. We've got t-shirts, hoodies, masks, hats, stickers, pins, and much more on our Redbubble store. That's maineventmarks.redbubble.com. You can also pick up some awesome clothing items with the latest updated show graphics on our Bonfire store. That's bonfire.com/store/main event marks. Support your favorite retro wrestling podcast and pick up some cool swag on our Bonfire and Redbubble stores. That's maineventmarks.redbubble.com and bonfire.com/store/main event marks.
By God, somebody's interrupting the Main Event Marks. Sit down, JR. It's just me, Kyle Sullivan, aka Shaggy Von Doom, your host of Here in Puckburg on the Hockey Podcast Network. I know, a hockey show on Main Event Marks. Who would have thought? This is an invasion angle. Somewhere between the Nexus and when WCW tried to invade WWE, somewhere in there. But I'm over here just telling you that one half of your tag team champions over here, Greg, he told his story of his love for the game of hockey over on my show. And if you'd like to hear that story, all you have to do is search Here in Puckburg wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube. In the meantime, Shagamania's got to go run wild on some other hockey show. So, just remember, quote the Raven, nevermore, take your vitamins, say your prayers, and oh yeah!
The Main Event Marks are available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Find all of our links on our link tree at linktr.ee/Main Event Marks. And we're back.
We're back.
The Main Event Marks is sponsored by Shocked Energy. Shocked Energy is a healthier alternative to traditional energy drinks that gives the energy that gamers need while in a long session without skimping on their health. Their products come in a powder form to mix into your water. You can either choose the green apple or watermelon boxes. If you want to try both, you can get the sample kit, use our link in the podcast description, or simply go to shockedenergy.com. At checkout, use our promo code MAINEVENT, that's all one word, to save 10% off your order. That's promo code MAINEVENT to save 10% at checkout. Also, if you're tuning into a wrestling podcast to hear about wrestling and you want it gimmick and politic free, you probably want the same out of your products. Are you ready to ditch the gimmick coffee? Coffee Brand Coffee is fresh roasted to order using only the highest quality coffee sourced direct from farms around the world. They've got bagged coffee as well as K-Cups. Not into coffee? Well, they've got great teas and cocos as well. At Coffee Brand Coffee, their head coffee roasters have mastered the art of unlocking flavors hidden inside their beans. Each batch is custom crafted and curated to accompany unique flavor profiles. Click on the link in the podcast description or go to coffeebrandcoffee.com and use our special promo code MAINEVENT, all one word, at checkout to get 5% off your order. That's coffeebrandcoffee.com and use the promo code MAINEVENT to save 5% at checkout. News and notes time.
I don't have anything to pop this week. I'm just drinking bottled water.
That's all right. I'm sure the listeners will forgive you for that. I won't, but they will. Either way. But since we're getting into the news and notes, we got to hit the. That is correct.
Shut the fuck up, Dave.
Everything that guy just says is bullshit.
There you go. I mean, that is true. Every word of it. But since we are getting into the news, I figured we'd start with ECW this week because, I mean, since this is their first pay-per-view ever, the big stuff is actually coming from ECW this week. So
ECW.
I think that means we have to hit your favorite. This week in ECW. If I may have another volley, sir. All right. Well, ECW will hold its first ever pay-per-view this week. It's been the most discussed pay-per-view of the year within the whole industry, and it's more important to the future of
ECW. BS on that.
Yeah, I mean,
everybody's talking about fairly legal.
Yeah, and all 100,000 people who know that ECW exists. But anyway, it's more important to the future of ECW than any show they've ever held. I will agree with that. As for whether they will go over the line, Uncle Dave says no chance. They nearly lost their chance on pay-per-view because of a series of incidents that went way too far. Yeah, see our previous episodes whenever we discuss ECW in the past.
See the New Jack Dark Side of the Ring.
Yeah, that too. Well, Uncle Dave actually makes mention of that because he says that there will be blood and swearing, but they aren't going to set the building on fire or slice open underage kids.
Oh, darn.
Yeah. Aw.
So, what's the point?
Yeah, what am I paying for then? God. But this pay-per-view is basically a test, and if it does well, it will lead to more pay-per-views in the future, and ECW won't risk doing anything to sacrifice that possibility. Yeah, for ECW, they kept this fairly tame, which is not a bad thing.
Why do you think we both said it's been watchable?
Yeah, I know, right? It's like, do you think that corresponds? Like, we said this is maybe the best ECW show we've ever seen, and they kept it a lot more tame. But, it was still ECW, but not quite as ECW as you usually
For me, I look at it as the difference between Jon Moxley and Dean Ambrose.
Yeah. Jon Moxley has to bleed in every single match, no matter what, even house shows that no one will see. That I don't freaking get. Dude, your forehead is going to be disgusting in about 2 years.
Yeah, Abdullah Butcher's going to tell you, dude, calm down.
Yeah, I know. It's like, just talk to Devon Dudley even. Like, his forehead's all carved up. Like, ugh. But it's pretty much expected now that Rob Van Dam will be leaving for WCW in June, with many ECW fans chanting, "You sold out." RVD going to WCW.
There it is.
Yeah.
He doesn't even go to WWE until it closes.
Yeah, right.
Unless you
There's
count
also-
the cameos on Raw and stuff like that. But
Right. There's also concern that Sabu will leave, but his track record of no-shows and incidents in the last year or so has killed a lot of interest in him from other promotions. Gee, you think?
did he already come back from WCW?
He did. Yeah, they
Okay.
fired him through the hotline. Which I'll admit is pretty dirty. But at the same time, like, yeah, this dude frequently no-shows events and lies to promoters. Yeah, I'm sure everybody's champing at the bit to get a hold of him. But there's also been interest in guys like Raven and Stevie Richards, but nothing major.
They will be leaving us.
Yeah, both of them. As for the
Raven and Dancing Stevie Richards.
Right. As for the other main core guys, Taz, Tommy Dreamer, the Dudleys, the Eliminators, Sandman, the Gangstas, Shane Douglas, etc., there's not really a lot of interest in any of them from other promotions for various
before
reasons.
ECW closes, they all leave at some point.
Dreamer didn't, but
almost
and
all.
Cronus didn't. Yeah, half of the Eliminators left. I don't know. The Gangstas, I just think, were in and out of jail.
Good
I'm
Lord.
not being funny, by the way. Like, I'm serious. Like, we did one show not too long ago where Mustafa was the mysterious benefactor of the Dudleys, and I think he just got out of jail. Taz did leave, as you mentioned. The Dudleys obviously left. Half of the Eliminators, Saturn, left. Sandman left for a minute, and Douglas left a couple of times. So there's that. But
Shane
anyway.
Douglas is a under the radar wrestling whore, if you think about it. Everybody
Right.
talks about Foley and Jake the Snake, man. Shane Douglas is right there on that list with them.
Yeah, right. I like how, by the way, there's a
Dreamer
promo
too.
that
Nowadays.
oh, for sure nowadays. There's a promo that Shane Douglas cuts on this very show where he says something about ever since I got back from Cartoon Land, talk about WWF. That's like in '97 they were pretty.
Yes, that check though, didn't he?
Yeah, right. Like in '97 they were kind of out of the cartoon era, whatever. They were full on with Vince
Well, he
Russo
was there
booking at that
in
point.
late 95, early 96, I
Right.
believe.
Yeah, I mean, to his point, yeah, he was there when it was more cartoony. But man, his failure kind of, from reports of everybody, kind of fell on him. I mean, yeah, the gimmick was dumb, obviously, but I'm sure if he wasn't the way he was, according to other people, he probably would have got at least a halfway decent push. But I don't know. They said he was kind of lazy. He acted like he didn't want to be there. He whined and cried about injuries all the time, and
Well, the fact that he left all three major organizations around this time, within this decade right here, is telling to me.
yeah. Well,
He was in all three, so
right.
you
and then
can't stay
think about,
consistently somewhere.
well, and I like Shane Douglas. I'm an unapologetic fan of his. However, I mean, you hear all those stories about how he wasn't the WWF, and then supposedly the Radicals were on board with him going with them to WWF, and then when they went to actually do the interview, they ghosted him. So, I mean, that should tell you something. It's like maybe he's just hard to work with. I don't know, man.
I think the same thing applies to Miro nowadays too.
I don't get the Miro situation. The stuff he puts online kind of makes you wonder. But at the same time, it's like, dude, he was getting over. It's like, was he that big of a backstage distraction where Tony Khan's like, oh no, we're gonna let you sit at home forever, even though you were getting over and people liked you. No, just sit at home. Like that just reeks of Tony Khan doesn't know what the F he's doing yet again. But no, I think he's 3 years running Booker of the Year or some crap like that.
Yeah, the nephew said.
Yeah. Oh well, God. If that's the case, I think it's pertinent to play this now.
Shut the f*** up, Dave.
Yeah.
I think
That plays.
fits. Yeah. But anyway, sticking with Douglas being hard to work with, and somebody else. Sandman and Shane Douglas nearly got into a backstage fight at ECW this week. Stop me if you heard this one before.
Well, let's see. Okay, was Sandman drunk in this? Because I'm trying to pick a side here.
Did the did the day end in the letter Y?
Probably, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so there you go.
So I'm taking Shane Douglas in this one.
Yeah, well, Uncle Dave has heard a million different versions of the story, but in short, Shane Douglas wanted Brian Lee fired for some reason. Sandman reportedly
He
told
slept
Lee
with his
about
wife.
it. Yeah.
Too soon?
Sandman reportedly told Lee about it, which led to Douglas calling Sandman a stooge, and they had words, and they had to be pulled apart. Then a
Oh
few
my
nights
God,
later,
Brian, you never believe what Shane said about you.
yeah, right. Like, like really, Sandman's going around spreading stuff backstage. Hey, guess what Shane Douglas said about you, buddy? Like, good God.
ECW, dude, there's a lot of stuff being spread backstage.
Good Lord. Well, Missy Hyatt's not there yet, but either way.
I'm sure she was at some point already.
yeah. She was there for the old in and out, if you know what I mean.
I don't know if she spread anything because she only allegedly did stuff like that. Roll it.
Allegedly.
There you go. Anyway, then a few nights later, they were doing an angle in the ring where Douglas used Sandman's cane on someone. Sandman felt that it was infringing on his gimmick, and they started to fight again.
Holy shit.
Paul Heyman spoke to both of them separately, and then got them in a room together, and the three of them talked it out for a long time.
And they got a hug.
And eventually the situation was settled. Good God. Someone used a Singapore cane in ECW? How dare they?
You might not want to turn on pro wrestling nowadays.
Yeah.
No matter the channel, no matter the brand, everybody's using a Singapore cane, dude.
Yep. Well, and on top of that, this is just like an ongoing thing for Sandman, isn't it? Because I remember him whining and crying that Austin stole his gimmick because he drank beer. Oh, no. Apparently Sandman's the only one that can drink beer in the ring. Like, well,
Yeah,
Austin,
well, how many shirts does Sandman sell?
on top of that, Austin bashed the cans together, not against his effing head until he bled.
Sandman did have a cooler song, though. You gotta give him that.
Yeah. But speaking of the Sandman, he and Balls Mahoney did an angle where Balls challenged anyone who could go blow for blow with him on chair shots.
Or as I call them, Sandy Balls.
Good God. Sandman eventually answered the challenge, and the two men took turns trading hard chair shots to each other's heads. The idea was to build up Balls as a guy who is willing to take crazy chair shots to the skull, thus earning Sandman's respect, and they will eventually form a tag team.
Sandy Balls.
And that, folks, is how you get CTE.
Okay, I got one better. How about Man Balls?
Good God, yes. Sandy Man Balls.
Yeah, that would have been a team. How much fun we would have talking about them.
Yeah. Man. Well,
no disrespect to the dead, but man, Balls Mahoney is garbage.
Where's our Manscaped sponsorship? Come on. We're just this segment is begging for it. But yeah, like what the yeah, let's throw two guys out there and just beat each other's brains in literally with a freaking chair. Because that's smart. And I don't want people to give me this whole, well, we didn't know all about the CTE back in 97. But you should have still known hitting each other repeatedly as hard as you can in the skull with a freaking aluminum chair is not smart.
Well, I got news for you. God gave you a skull, not a freaking metal plate in your head.
Yeah, it's not a helmet. Oh my gosh.
If you go back and watch that Brawl for All episode with Vince Russo on Dark Side of the Ring,
yeah,
he does show remorse for that because of the CTE. So
yeah,
I just find it funny.
Stupid.
He said, "Yeah." He's like, "I hate seeing that." He goes, "Now knowing we know about CTE nowadays, I wouldn't want anyone to get hit like that."
And the thing is, that's safer than boxing because they had bigger, more padded gloves.
Yeah, right.
It was still rough. But back to Brian Lee.
This is right up there with that slap fight crap.
Oh God.
They got thrown off TV. They got thrown off TV, by the way.
Oh well, who could have foreseen? I see people promoting that, especially look, I like Rumble. Okay, I think if anybody, it's not going to compete with YouTube. YouTube's just got too much of a head start and everything. But if anybody's going to be a second tier to YouTube, whatever, Rumble is right up there. I like having alternatives. However, Like, just because you support Rumble doesn't mean you have to be like, yeah, everything they have on there is great. Like, they got Slap Fight, dude. Like,
That alone tells me not to use that service. So that's me. But.
Yeah. But either way, back to Brian Lee. He suffered a hairline fracture of his C5 and C6 vertebrae in his neck during a match with Terry Funk. He worked the next night against Stevie Richards, but it was only a 15-second match. Lee is expected to see a doctor this week. This was actually it for him in ECW. He never wrestled here again. And turned up
what a loss.
He turned up 2 months later in the WWF. So he did trade up.
This was Chains, right?
Yeah. To people that don't know what he's talking about, obviously you didn't watch Attitude Era. Chains from the Disciples of Apocalypse, DOA, Biker Crew, whatever. Yeah, and he was the fake Undertaker in 1994. Or Ted DiBiase's Undertaker, or whatever you want to say.
Which, ironically, I'm not even trying to be funny, was probably the biggest thing he's ever done.
Yeah, right. Because he somewhat resembled Mark Calloway. So, hey, what if we had two Undertakers? I will say this, as a kid, I freaking loved that.
Oh, God, yeah, I ate it up.
Yeah, I
thought that match at SummerSlam was amazing. Looking back, I'm like, man, this was garbage.
It wasn't good. Well, I like how the Undertaker tries to make up for it. He's like, well, we were supposed to go longer, but Brett and Owen went over their time. It's like, you mean this was supposed to go longer than this?
You mean the classic cage match went too long and this crap went too short?
Yeah,
what am I missing
sorry.
here?
I was like, I'm sorry, but adding 10 more minutes on it because they were like, well, Brett and Owen went 10 minutes long, which I will admit it's pretty effed up, and I guess the Undertaker got really pissed at him about it. However, using that again, adding 10 more minutes to that Taker versus Taker match would not have made it better.
I would have taken 5 minutes off.
Right. It's like, if anything, I think it would have made it worse. God, man. Yeah, I remember.
What was WWE doing that back then?
Say what?
What was WWE doing that back then, especially that year? WrestleMania 10 had the same problem with the ladder match.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, there were certain people that were just like, we're not going to take our time cues, whatever. They did say, they were like, in certain cases, like, Sean and Brett knew they could get away with it because they're like, well, if we're putting on a banger, we're not going to get chewed out that bad, if we go over time. So
those two ever put on bangers?
Yeah, never.
Well, according to Jake the Snake, they sucked. That's a real quote, by the way.
He said that Brett and Sean sucked.
Maybe he didn't say suck, but I think he said something about they weren't worthy of being champion or something like that.
Oh, God, yeah. Well, Jake also said that when he first came back to the WWF, he was Hogan's size. Like,
well, he probably was. He's not muscle.
Oh, no, he claimed he was just as jacked as Hogan and just as tan and everything. I was like, in what effing world, Jake? We saw you. Like,
he was pasty as hell and had like a dad bod.
Yeah, it's like, dude, we effing saw you, man. We have eyes. Like, what the at no point in your career, like maybe height-wise, he was close. Muscle-wise, hell no. Like, whatever.
It's delusional.
Yeah, I know. I hate to say this, but I think the drugs have affected him.
I don't think you need to hate saying that. It's a fact, dude. I still love him, though. When I was a kid, he's one of my favorites, so I don't want that to change my opinion on the rest of it. And the man is something wrong with him.
Yeah. Oh, when they first started coming out with the classic wrestling figures for Jax back in the day, he was like the first one I bought. I was so excited to get a Snake figure.
He was the man, dude.
Yeah. But
I want to make that clear. People thinking, "Oh, why are you crapping on him?" Because the man, there's something wrong with him.
Right. Yeah. Well, the one last thing on the Taker versus Taker thing, talk about when we were kids. I remember I was I was hanging out with a friend of mine, when we were both super into wrestling in elementary school, whatever. And we went to the video store to rent, we both picked out a wrestling tape to watch. I know I'm going super old. Everybody's got to Google this stuff. But I can't remember what he picked out, but I was like, this one is Undertaker versus Undertaker? There's two Undertakers? I got to watch this.
If I didn't know any better, in hindsight, I would swear that was Kane.
Dude, people told me for years, like before you could easily look stuff up on the internet, like, oh, that was Kane before you. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, I would have bought that if I didn't know any better. I totally would have bought that.
I did for a bit until I was looking and I'm like, because my dad was one of them that said it. I was like, the fake Undertaker had tattoos. Kane does not. And he's like, oh well, still. He's like, well, they could have covered it up. I'm like, what? Okay. But yeah, I mean, other than that, body, yeah, you could buy it. I will say this, when I found out it was Chains, I was like, wait, what? Because
I don't think I found out who it was until like, when I say recently, I mean like in the past like 10 years or so.
Yeah, I found out a while ago, but I was just like, huh? Like,
and for the longest time, I thought Chains was that guy 911.
Oh God, yeah, it did.
I really did.
I mean, the outfit definitely fit, but the thing is, I think Chains could wrestle. Look, I don't know if 911 is dead. I don't know.
I think he is actually.
Well,
I don't mean you can't criticize the wrestling. I'm tired of people that have that attitude. Oh, if you criticize their skill, you're crapping on the dead. Like, no, you're not.
Yeah,
you're an idiot for saying that.
Like, we can say somebody was not good at their job without saying they were a crappy. We say that about El Gigante / Giant Gonzalez all the time.
Once a podcast, I think.
Yeah, right. But continuing on with the crap in ECW here, Stevie Richards and Axl Rotten both had major heat with ECW this week. Richards went on Mark Madden's radio show.
Hey, the Steelers, man.
And that's a bad call.
Sorry.
Right there, going on Mark Madden's radio show. But he went on there and joked about going to WCW if they would pay him more than Chris Jericho.
Wait, why is that the barometer?
That's what I'm like. Is he paid notoriously low?
I mean, if you said that today, I'm like, okay, I get that. But,
yeah. I'm assuming he's like using Chris Jericho as like he knows that maybe Jericho's not being paid very much. I don't know. But then he worked an indie show where he put over Disco Inferno clean. I mean, I would have given him heat for that one. But
hey, what the hell's wrong with Disco? Again, he's a joke, haha. But is he really bad?
Paul Heyman was upset because Richards is supposed to be in a major match at the ECW pay-per-view next week.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
and
I get that.
They didn't want him. Right. And they didn't want him doing clean jobs to guys like Disco Inferno before the biggest show in company history. Yeah, I get that.
That's like if Roman was to go out there and lose the pockets tomorrow.
Good God.
Keep in mind, we record early, folks, by the way. Sorry.
Yeah, right. Well, I got to say this, like, there are other people that will hear you defending Disco Inferno and be like, well, F this podcast, and turn it off. It's like, I didn't think Disco Inferno was bad either. Okay. I don't give a crap about it.
I kind of liked him a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I will shamelessly say as a 7, 8, 9-year-old kid, I would do, when he did his entrance, I'd get up and do the dance like the ones in the crowd and everything. I thought it was funny.
You see right there, that's telling what you just said. They always had everybody in the crowd dancing. So you can't tell me that pool wasn't over. Everybody was doing it.
Yeah. I never once saw him put on a banger of a match, but I mean, there were only a handful of times I really saw him put up a stinker. So all these, like, I don't know where this came in the last few years where people are like, oh, he couldn't wrestle and he absolutely sucked. Like,
if you go back and look at Nitro, he always had a title. It felt like the TV title, the cruiserweight title. He always had a title around his waist. So don't tell me they didn't have faith in that man.
Right. But yeah, I don't know. I think people just don't like his opinions now, so they talk crap on him. It's like, get over it. Same thing. I saw somebody on our TikTok was crying because I quoted Jim Cornette saying "piss hole in a snowbank," and he's like, "Oh, this guy thinks he's cool quoting Jim Cornette." And it's like, and I'm like, "What's your point? Did I hurt your feelings?"
I got a question for you. How do you know who said that?
Yeah, well, I think I said in the clip, I'm like, or one of us did, because I said "piss hole in a snowbank," and one of us were like, "Oh, it's Cornettism" or whatever, something like that. But either way, as for actual
wrestling opinions become like political opinions. Everyone's got a voice it, never shut the hell up.
I know.
I have an opinion, so I must state it.
Yeah, it's like those idiots that are on Twitter. Well, or on Facebook and Twitter. Well, if you voted for X person, delete yourself off my. It's like that with wrestling. Well, if you watch this show, go F yourself. Get off my Twitter. Like,
I get heat for not liking AEW all that much, but I watch it every damn Wednesday.
Yeah,
it's not like I'm sitting there crapping on it from afar. I'm watching it. I'm literally consuming the product. I'm allowed
them ratings. Yeah, you're giving them ratings. So there you go. But as for Axl Rotten, he went to WCW show in Baltimore, and he was used as one of the security guards who broke up a Chris Benoit, Kevin Sullivan fight. Needless to say,
hey, everybody starts there, dude. MJF, Samoa Joe, Ricky Starks. Sheamus.
Well, Cody Rhodes was a security guard in WCW.
He was, yeah, and Hogan almost beat the piss out of him. I remember that.
Well, needless to say, Paul Heyman, who hates WCW, was not thrilled. Like, come on, dude. Like, he got a payday for being the security guard. I'm sure a handful of people knew who
the check probably cleared.
Yeah, but and in this case, was he jobbing out to anybody? No. Like, plausible deniability there. You know, in kayfabe, you could be like, oh, well, I got a second job as a security guy for that building or whatever. You know. Yep. What the hell? Speaking of this, though, to wrap up the ECW portion, Kimona from ECW may be debuting in WCW at an upcoming Nitro in Philadelphia.
We're way off from that, so well.
I mean, I was going to say, we had talked about this before. She had done some like dark match, or she was in some like dark matches, managing some tag teams or whatever. But no, she wasn't like officially there yet. They decided to pass. So,
how all the way live was she?
Oh yeah, right. I like, by the way, how when they went dark for a while, like the power went out in the building or something like that at some show, and Paul's like, Kimona, why don't you go out there and do a strip tease for the fans? They'll love it. Like
my New York pal, Vince Russo said people love that stuff.
Yeah. To quote him, bro, boobies. And that is how I book, sir.
He had a type though. It's like usually blondes with huge fake chests.
Yeah, right. Bro, she's like, what? She's Asian, bro. How can I relate with that?
Bro.
Bro, she's Asian, bro. How can I relate with that, bro? Good Lord. Anyway, WCW's Spring Stampede pay-per-view happened and was fine. Yeah. But otherwise forgettable.
What year is this again? 96, right?
97.
That wasn't a bad pay-per-view. That was the infamous pay-per-view where Booker T dropped the N-word on Hogan, I believe. I'm pretty sure that's the one.
Yeah. I think so. And I'm pretty sure now in the archives, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so go check that out. Now in the archives, Spring Stampede 97. We're going to do 98 next week, actually, as a matter of fact.
That's a decent show. Decent.
Yeah.
But I remember right. I got to pull up the notes, but yeah.
Well, the announcing was only mildly atrocious this time, according to Uncle Dave. Uncle Dave also calls WCW reprehensible for the fact that they knew weeks ago that Scott Hall wouldn't be there, but continued to advertise him for the show. Even during the pre-show, right before the pay-per-view started, they teased that Hall and Nash would be defending the titles, but after the pay-per-view started, they finally told the fans that he wouldn't be there. Hall is still out.
Now, how does he know they knew he wasn't going to show? Maybe they had false hope on it.
Well, because I guess it was public knowledge at the time, and he was pretty public about it. But, and he says right here, Hall is still out dealing with some personal issues, like a failing marriage and some other vices that had landed him in rehab. So, yeah, at this time, he's actually in rehab. So, to
quote Vince McMahon, you have to look at the program, because it says right on there, card subject to change.
I get that. But that usually is for somebody's injured, and they just, last minute we found out couldn't make it. But like he said, pre-show. On the pre-show, right before the pay-per-view, they know he's not in the building, and they're like, he'll be here. Kind of effed up, in my opinion. Okay,
another thing, though. I like Scott Hall. He's one of my favorites, but who was clamoring for this pay-per-view to have him on it?
He's one of the... When he's a defending champion, you figure it's like, there was like Outsiders versus Steiners.
And something.
Yeah. Well... it's kind of like I went to a TNA house show and they advertised Matt Hardy and he was not there.
Oh, no.
I was actually kind of looking forward because I had never seen Matt Hardy in person. So I was kind of looking forward to it. But yeah, he wasn't there. And,
how do you feel now?
Yeah. They never said why. And to further your point of why were you wanting to see it? At that time, he was dreadlock having cold-blooded Matt Hardy. So
you're not helping your case.
Yeah. But he was still a Hardy boy. I grew up watching him, so I did want to see him in person, So, I don't know. Speaking of growing up watching these people, Randy Savage suffered multiple torn ligaments in his ankle during the match with DDP at Spring Stampede. Savage apparently didn't feel any pain during the match and didn't know it until he woke up in intense pain the next morning. It's believed that he'll be out for several months.
Randy Savage in WCW injured? Tell me another one.
Yeah, right. Maybe Vince had a point of, you're too old. I can't really say that though.
I feel like he was hurt every year in WCW, dude.
Yeah, right.
Your back, an ankle, a knee,
his hip.
Yeah.
Well, and the hip issue was because he kept doing the damn flying elbow and landing on his hip. So that's why they said the older he got, the more he would like just straight up land straight on his opponent and just crush that mofo. And Randy Savage is smaller than Hogan, but is not a small dude. DDP literally said he pissed blood for a week after taking that elbow. So.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I worry about what's her name? Athena. She does that Eclipse.
Oh yeah.
How's that not going to affect her tailbone later in life, man?
Yeah, right. Well, I'm trying to think
Hogan
of some
said
other
he
one.
jacked up his back doing a leg drop every night. Think about it. When you have a move where you're coming right down on your ass, it's going to hurt eventually.
Look at Jeff Hardy. They said the same thing about him. They said now he just squishes MFers. Like Carl Anderson said he freaking hated wrestling him because every night, because his hip is effed up now, he just all his weight just comes straight down on the dude. So I mean, I get why he does it, but still, it sucks. Speaking of the name Anderson, Arn Anderson is scheduled for neck surgery this week. He will be out for at least 6 months if he's ever able to return at all. Yeah,
fortunately, I'm going to go with the latter.
Yeah, dude, he describes the whole thing. That sounds like just awful. And this is when neck surgery was still like not what it's not what it is today. And he said that doctor jacked him up.
I feel like they never did a proper send off to him either.
Yeah, it was just kind of like, he's not gonna. I mean, he had that promo.
The thing is, he was still on TV all the time, so you didn't. So if you're not in the know, you don't know what the hell's going on. He's just not wrestling anymore.
Right. And he did that promo about his spot and whatever. Flair cried, bro. So, I mean, there was that, but.
I feel like that was a send-off because Flair was crying like that, yeah.
Yeah, it was meant to be. But, I mean, he always kind of held out hope. I think even he said he was kind of holding out a little hope. But, yeah, he said, he was like, well, looking back at it, he's like, I should have sued the doctor because he said as soon as I woke up from anesthesia, like my doctor's apologizing to me about the surgery. And I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. And he's like, and then I realized I had like just incredible pain in my neck. And he said, apparently the surgery was not a success. So yeah.
Was James Andrews on WWE retainer or what?
Probably. I can't remember. He didn't give the name of the doctor he went to, but yeah, he said it was not good.
I don't think he would be allowed to. You do that, it might be defamation.
Yeah, right. Well, that's probably why he's keeping it to himself. There's a lot behind the scenes heat between different factions in WCW. Kevin Sullivan has his own group of supporters, and Hulk Hogan has his, and they're butting heads. Uncle Dave gives an example from the recent Nitro, where Kevin Nash, who is in the Hogan camp, cut a promo where he was supposed to tease issues amongst the NWO members. Instead, Nash cut a promo talking about Little Napoleon, Kevin Sullivan, backstage. Giving orders to people.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a mess.
Yeah. So you want to talk about,
and WCW would still kick their ass for a couple more years too.
Yep. I think didn't they finally break the streak we covered that show.
April 98.
98, yeah, okay. Yeah, but WCW, was still running. I mean, WCW was still running hot next year. Not that even though they were
mathematically right here, is the streak even going? I know it's 83 weeks, right? So obviously 52, so all of 97, part of 98. Yes,
right. So yeah, but yep, you can see the cracks forming. Speaking of some issues, Chris Benoit, Nancy Sullivan, and William Regal were in a car accident when they were hit by a drunk driver. The car they were in rolled over twice. Nancy was banged up, and Benoit got a nasty cut on his hand, which opened up and bled everywhere during his pay-per-view match. A funny note is that Uncle Dave says that Benoit and Nancy do their angle all the time, even when they're not on TV, which is why they were riding together. Dave has no idea that at this point it's not an angle. I don't think that Benoit and Nancy Sullivan were that dedicated to kayfabe, where they were just going to ride together because they're in an angle together.
Oh, someone said that's true. Who was it? I think it's on a WWE documentary.
I know. Well, I know they were saying that nobody knows exactly when it started to bleed over from the screen to reality. So,
Drunken night at a bar. That'd be my pick.
Yeah. Well, speaking of not knowing reality from fiction, the Rey Mysterio Jennifer Aniston story in the National Enquirer has gotten a lot of coverage and once again reminds everyone that it's complete BS. For people that
What
don't
story
know,
is this?
For people that don't know, there was a huge rumor during this time that Rey Mysterio was dating Jennifer Aniston. Keep in mind that Jennifer Aniston was like, not just physically, but like in Hollywood, like one of the hottest names out there because of Friends in '97. And yeah, it's, I'm sure she's dating Rey Mysterio Jr. Not the crap.
Step down from Brad Pitt, wouldn't it?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think she was with Brad at this point. They were at least dating, if not married. I can't. Do you remember what season was that where he was on Friends?
8.
Okay, so that was, and they started in '94.
This is season
3.
This is either
4.
season 3 or it's got to be 3. It's ending 3 right here. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I don't know if she was with Brad Pitt at this time, but yeah. Either way, in other Mysterio news, his wife, yes, he's married, which also adds a fun wrinkle to the Aniston story, gave birth to a baby boy named Dominic last week. It was a big joke in the locker room because Dominic, who had it's his first WrestleMania, right?
This one?
Or
no, this would be his second. Yeah, he was last year's.
Okay, I couldn't remember for sure. But yeah, he was at, this is past tense because we recorded early, but he was at WrestleMania this past week taking on his dad.
Hopefully his dad beat the piss out of him.
But it was a big joke in the locker room because the baby was pretty damn big, and everyone joked that it must be Kevin Nash's son. Oh, man.
It's crazy how much he towers overrated this day.
Yeah, right? And, I mean, you can kind of see some resemblance, like, if you combined his mom and dad's faces, whatever, but it's like, it's also funny to think that, like, he kind of resembles Eddie. And that was, like, the whole joke.
It's the stupid mullet, dude.
Yeah, I know, right. Like, dude, why do you have the same mullet as Eddie? Are you just, like, leaning into the joke, or do you actually like that hair?
Nobody likes that hair.
I don't know,
the whitest white guy from Alabama would like that mullet.
I don't know, man. It's weird. I said something. I was like making fun of people with mullets. So one day, and my wife was like, "Hey, they're making a comeback." Like, the mullet? She's like, "Yeah, they're like fashionable now." And I'm like,
I am seeing it more and more everywhere, though. To be fair.
Yeah, I'm like, what do you mean they're making a comeback? I was like, when were they ever here? I guess, 90s and 80s and whatever. But it's just like, and like she argued with me. She's like, no, they're becoming a big thing again. And I'm like. And at first I didn't believe her, but yeah, the more I get around,
sounds like you're arguing with her.
Yeah, well, the more I get out in public and everything, and I look around, I'm like, yeah, you know what? Damn it, she's right.
Do you go out mullet hunting?
Don't you?
I was looking for mullet. Well, yeah, I send you the pictures all the time, don't
I? Yeah. You and our mutual friend are always sending me pictures of freaking random mullets out in the wild. Not that I'm complaining. It's hilarious, but still, it's just like, oh my god. What is it? Mississippi Waterfall? I think is what it's called. Yeah.
The hell is that?
I think that's a nickname for a mullet. Mississippi Waterfall.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, New Japan Pro Wrestling was hoping to get the entire NWO to appear at their Osaka Dome show next month, but Hulk Hogan won't be there because New Japan Pro Wrestling wasn't willing to meet his price demands. I'm sure they weren't. And Randy Savage is injured, so he likely won't be there either. That leaves Kevin
Scott
Nash.
Hall ain't going to show up.
So, well, you'd think. But that leaves Nash, Hall, and Six, and others. And of course, I like how it's Nash, Hall, Six, and the others.
And the rest.
Yeah, right. And of course, Hall's status is still up in the air also, but he is expected to be back by then. Several other WCW stars like Sting and Lex Luger are expected as well.
You know who they probably really wanted? I'm not even joking. It's Scott Norton.
Yeah, right. They're like,
that guy's like a god over there, man.
You can send over Flash, right? Like, I mean, I guess. It's kind of like when, not to crap on this because I'm a big fan of this guy, but, you and I talked about this before. It's like kind of like when WWE is like, well, since you let us use Ric Flair in our show, you can have your pick of anybody on our roster. And they're like, Christian, like anybody. Yeah, Christian. Okay. Like, it's not like we have to write him out a booking plan. So sure, go at it.
My favorite part about that is Richard said, you could have asked for Cena or The Undertaker. We were going to give them to you. You could have asked. But
yeah,
no,
right.
You didn't even try.
Yeah. You could have asked for The Rock. But no. Yeah. Man. This one is funny.
I might have went Batista if I was here at that time.
Yeah.
That was a big enough star they might have said okay.
Yeah, that was it was a step down from Cena, but it was still a big ass name. So they could have asked for Triple freaking H. But no, Christian Cage. Okay. And like I said, I'm a huge Christian Cage fan. But really? Okay.
Well, clearly Dixie Carter is too.
Yeah, right. This story is funny just because of the politics of Mexico, but AAA President Antonio Pena has filed a lawsuit against WCW, claiming that the Mexican wrestlers who signed WCW contracts did so illegally because they're still under contract to AAA. Part of Pena's agreement with WWF was that Pena promised that he could get all of the Mexican stars working in WCW to come to the WWF because he claims that he has valid contracts with them. Interestingly enough, the lawsuit names most of the Mexicans that WCW is using, but does not name Rey Mysterio Jr., which is the main wrestler that WWF wanted most of all.
Yeah, fingers.
Yeah, I'm sure Rey was locked down tight in WCW. That was like Eric Bischoff made it clear he was locked in with a WCW contract. Like, no, the rest of these guys, I don't know, I'm pretty
that guy's
sure,
been coveted for years, man. That's crazy to think about.
Yeah, right. This and I like when WWE finally did get him to come in. They're like, "Put your mask back on. We want you with a mask."
No, he wanted the mask. He said it.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought Bruce Pritchard said something about they were kind of pushing. They were like, "We don't want maskless Ray."
Well, Ray said he wanted the mask back badly.
Well, I think
it could be both.
Right. Well, I think WWE was smart enough to see merchandising opportunities with Ray. I mean, how many
That's false. I never see anybody in the crowd wearing a Mysterio mask. You're wrong.
Yeah, right. Well, plus the fact, how many versions of Rey Mysterio toys do we have out there? Like 5,000?
I think he's got the most figures in history next to Cena.
Yeah, it's like him, Cena, AJ Styles is pulling up the rear there. Like
Hulk Hogan's still adding to it.
Who is it?
So Hulk Hogan's still adding to it.
Yeah, Hulk Hogan.
He's getting another Ultimate, by the way. Well,
yeah, it's crazy.
If this arena gets back quick enough.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah.
It was his fourth Ultimate? 1, 2, 3. I think it'll be his fourth Ultimate. Yeah.
Nice. But yeah, I don't believe Mexico was always pulling crap with contracts, man. Like it was always something with them.
I blame Conan.
Yeah. It's just always something political. But we talked about this guy earlier, but Disco Inferno has been telling indie promoters that he isn't available for any dates after July 1st. So I know.
So I have to go back on what we were saying, but oh no, we can't secure Disco. Might as well close shop.
Yeah, right. We had you we packed out the building for you. What do you mean you can't make the show? But anyway, he can't do any dates after July 1st, so he's probably headed to the WWF at this point. Yeah. Not quite.
Was this before or after the whole thing where he kind of got fired for not wanting to lose to Jacqueline on TV?
Had to be after, right? Because wasn't his run in 96? I want to say.
I don't remember. It's all like one long run to me.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't I didn't start watching wrestling until late 97, so I really don't remember.
Well, like they said, he's almost for sure going to WWE. What the hell would he have done there? He obviously couldn't have been Disco, I assume.
Yeah, right. Were they going to make the same mistake that they did with Mark Marrow?
Right.
Yeah, because it said he was injured in early 97 and took some time off before returning in September. His injury was mentioned after Disco refused to lose to Jacqueline because she was a woman, and doesn't say anything about when he was fired. I don't think he was fired for long. So,
like I said, I don't remember him ever being off.
yeah. Okay, so yeah, he lost to Jacqueline at Halloween Havoc 97. So he was back by then. So maybe this was when he was fighting. I don't know. Who knows?
Maybe he never was.
Yeah. But either way, speaking of indie wrestlers, indie wrestler Sean Morley has been drawing comparisons to 80s era Lex Luger, with people saying that he's really green in the ring, but has a great physique.
Right.
I mean...
Well, I wonder where that's going to go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he did have a good physique, but 80s era Lex Luger? Nah.
That's a guy that rivals Schwarzenegger at times, so yeah, no.
Yeah. According to Bruce Pritchard, he said the first time he saw Morley he was wrestling in Mexico with a mask, and his name was Steel.
Yeah, pal. He's a porn star.
God dang, pal, we're going to put him in fake porn movies. Russo's like, bro, I don't know nothing about porn, bro. No, Russo comes in, he's like, I was spanking it last night, and I got the perfect idea for his gimmick, bro.
Holy crap.
Oh, my gosh.
When he finished, I cried, bro.
My gosh. Bro, we're going to bring in that dude whose wife hacked off his junk and have him do an angle together, bro.
Oh my God! How the hell did I would love to know how that even came to fruition.
Dude, because freaking Vince Russo with his pea brain was watching the news. Was like, bro, this is awful, bro. Bro, what if we do something with Val Venus? Man, he gets his junk cut off, but he doesn't really get his junk cut off. It was a swerve, bro. But we bring in this dude anyway.
And who's gonna cut off his junk? It's gonna be the Japanese guys, bro. You know they like swords, bro.
Yeah, he's gonna have himself a samurai sword. He's gonna cut it. He's gonna cut it off. He's gonna be gone forever, bro. But here's where it gets really interesting, bro. He's gonna call it a PP, like he's in grade school, bro.
Sad, I can see all that being true.
It's just like, I mean, all of it was bad that we just laid out, but like he called it a PP. Like, you're a grown man. Anyway, God, trying to move on from that. This is
why? I want to spend more time on this.
Yeah. Fake Diesel and Fake Razor did an angle at the latest USWA show where they came out and attacked everybody during the show. The whole thing is a WWF.
Oh, wow. Where they got that from?
Yeah. The whole thing is a WWF is better than USWA thing, with the USWA guys trying to defend their company against the WWF guys.
It's like the NFL invading the XFL say we're better than you. And we know this.
That's like, oh, well, I don't know about that. That's debatable. The Fake Diesel even cut a promo talking about how Jerry Lawler brought him into the WWF back when he was Isaac Yankem. Since Lawler worked for both, the big angle is about whose side Lawler is on. Oh, well then. That makes it interesting now. God. Well, speaking of WWF talents elsewhere, Mankind will make a one-night return to FMW in Japan under the name Cactus Jack and will team with Terry Funk and the Gladiator, a.k.a. Mike Awesome, in a hardcore match against Atsushi Onita, Masato Tanaka, and Kentaro Kanamura.
Swear to God, when you said Mike Awesome was in it, I knew Masato Tanaka was going to be on the other side. I knew it.
Well, of course. Like, who else? The show will also be headlined by a women's electrified barbed wire match.
Hell yeah.
That will be the retirement of FMW women's star Megumi Kudo. If you're asking...
No, not her.
Yeah, if you're asking who, so am I. WWF
Cue that
reported...
dog meme. Who?
Who? There we go. All right, anyway. But sticking with FMW, unfortunately, WWF has reportedly reached out to Atsushi Onita about coming in, but Onita has no interest in wrestling in the U.S. Instead, WWF will likely be bringing in FMW wrestler Kentaro Kanamura for a tryout soon. God. I can't imagine WWF seeing any of Onita's work and being like, God dang it, pal, we got to sign him. Gonna blow shit up, pal. Wow. Well, I mean, maybe Russo wanted to sign him, but I can't see Vince McMahon wanting to sign him. This one, this kind of sucks, but expect Yokozuna to return later this year. Word is that he's lost a ton of weight. I don't think that's true. Well, on both of those fronts,
he would return. He'd be at the Survivor Series '96. Are we in '96 right now?
We're in '97.
Okay, and no, he's not coming back.
Yeah, going forever, bro. Which sucks. I wish he would have lost weight and been able to come back and kind of change gimmicks a little bit.
Well, the problem is he was determined to gain more.
Right. Freaking sucks, man.
I mean, I'm not saying I don't feel bad, but it sucks that he died. I mean, you got to stop that crap.
Yep. Yeah, everybody was trying to help him, and he was just like, nah, I'm okay. Nah, it'll be fine. But on Shotgun Saturday Night, which, everybody loved, Sonny has been doing a gossip segment and said that a fourth member of the Hart Foundation will be added, and said that it will be someone who started his career in Stampede Wrestling, which almost certainly means Brian Pillman. She also hinted at another UFC fighter coming in to challenge Ken Shamrock and hinted at his nickname being The Beast, which is obviously Dan Severn. Like, they didn't even try to make that clever. Just like, his nickname's The Beast. Oh, I wonder who.
They could have said something like someone Tom Selleck is jealous of, something like that.
Right. Someone with the greatest mustache this side of porn. Oh, man. He somewhat resembles Richard from Friends.
Why do we get two Friends references in this episode?
Yeah, hey, we got to get more in. But on Raw, Shawn Michaels cut a 15-minute promo that was basically a shoot, bro. Shawn tore into Bret Hart and his family and says that Bret complained about losing the WWF title to Shawn. He said that Bret left the WWF for most of the year because he was waiting for business to plummet with Shawn on top, but instead, they did the best business they've done in 6 years, and Vince McMahon confirmed it. Uncle Dave interjects and then says, yes, business was good on top with Shawn on top, rather, but let's not pretend that he was a Hogan-esque draw. Plus, Uncle Dave talks about... Yeah.
He's coming. The guy who is coming.
Stone Cold about... Plus, Uncle Dave talks about all of Shawn's various hissy fits and temper tantrums throughout the year. That pretty much sums it up, as Shawn was trying to rewrite history. He was a decent draw by 1996 standards, sure, but he didn't set the world on fire or anything. Shawn then went on to say that Bret used a rival organization to stab WWF in the back to get them to pay him more money, and just basically spent the whole promo crapping on Bret and talking about how he can't separate wrestling from real life. I mean,
didn't Eric Bischoff say that never happened?
It depends on the timeline. I think at this point in '97, he was like going back.
Well, they were
forth.
Talking about '96. I assume he said he left. He used them to get more money. That's when he came back in Survivor Series '96.
Yeah,
Bischoff said he never even talked to him about the contract.
Yeah, I don't know when he actually started talking.
You just said, I'm thinking it's the sabbatical he took after WrestleMania 12.
Yeah, right. But I'm just wondering, like, I don't know when exactly he started talking to WCW. So, I really don't know. But it seemed like that was always a threat in Bret's back pocket. Yeah, I'm sure there was always a threat in Bret's back pocket where it's like, oh well, I could go to WCW,
and you could do nothing ever there.
Yeah, right. And now he says he regrets it. It's like, I'm sure the hell you do. According to,
I regret it until I look at my bank account.
Yeah, right. Well, according to Honky Tonk Man, he got kicked in the head and couldn't get his junk hard anymore. So there you go.
Right.
Honky Tonk Man going after guys' junk. Wow. I think we've already covered this.
Yeah, there's a short video on our YouTube. If anybody wants to go check that out, Honky Tonk Man is obsessed with Johnson's. Can't remember exactly.
Short, you piss that man off. He's coming after your thingy.
Yeah, right. Talks about Rick Rude's junk. Talks about Bret Hart's junk. It's like, what the hell is wrong with you, dude? I'm sure there's others thrown in there too that I don't know. Honky Tonk Man's a weird man. That's all I got to say. But anyway, that brings us to our last two stories of the podcast, and they're kind of uncomfortable. I mean, the first one is just like, typical for wrestling. And
this is a new one for us.
Yeah. Well, this first story is just kind of peripheral media talking about wrestling. The last story I got in here is a doozy that's really uncomfortable, but we'll get into it. But these people, I compiled it all into this one segment called "That Is One Big Pile of Shit." So let's hit the new stinger.
You couldn't
say what?
Go ahead.
What the f*** is this piece of shit?
That is one big pile of shit.
I was going to be pissed if you use that.
Absolutely. Had to get some more Joe Pesci in there. Anyway, this first story. Sports Illustrated magazine took time out to crap on pro wrestling. I know. I'm shocked too. Earlier this year, the New Jersey governor signed a bill eliminating the Athletic Commission regulations on pro wrestling, which... What event was that when they first went to
SummerSlam 97?
Okay. Now in the archives, where we talked about that, they brought the freaking governor out to give her a fake title and whatever, and thank her for signing it. But either way, for years, the WWF avoided running shows in Jersey because of those regulations. Sports Illustrated gleefully said that the WWF had to admit that pro wrestling isn't a sport in order to get the regulations dropped, which, as everyone knows, WWF admitted years ago. The story says, quote, pro wrestling had long tried to insult everyone's intelligence by claiming that matches were genuine contests and that practitioners were true athletes, end quote. Uncle Dave says that...
I might argue that they are true athletes, but...
Well, Uncle Dave says Pro Illustrated is insulting his intelligence by claiming that pro wrestlers aren't great athletes because they absolutely are.
Especially those two little babies that aren't even men yet down in Rancho Cucamonga.
Wow. Yeah, that's just another freaking it's such a low-hanging fruit. Like, oh, slow news week. Let's talk crap about wrestling again. Cool.
It's kind of ironic and funny right now because, they're doing that. And I'm looking at ESPN this morning and the reveal of the WrestleMania card and everything. And man, people's tunes have changed, huh? Yeah, right. And how many people are buying magazines nowadays? Like, good Lord. Outside of their swimsuit edition, who gives a damn about Sports Illustrated? Growing up, that was just like ESPN. Growing up, that was a thing. Every guy had a subscription to Sports Illustrated or knew someone who did. Now it's like, nobody buys magazines. What the hell? But this last story is it's something, man. Two effed up quotes from two different people. So recently, Ted Turner was quoted as saying that the recent Heaven's Gate cult mass suicide was, quote, a good way to get rid of a few nuts, end quote. Wow. Yeah, I'm going to pause. Who said that, there. Turner? Yes. Do you know what I'm talking about? The Heaven's Gate? Do. I do. Yeah. Because a mutual friend of ours, he took me to this place in LA called Museum of Death, which is really cool. I think you and I went to the one in New Orleans, didn't we? Yeah, we did. The one in LA had a whole display of it. It had one of the actual beds from the scene. That's when I learned about it. It's crazy. Well, for people that don't know, it just real quick on it. It was a cult based in New Mexico and San Diego, California. Was this the one where they all drank cyanide or whatever? Yeah, and the guys castrated themselves, right? Oh God. Yeah. Yeah. It's dude, I'm clenching my legs right now just saying that. Yeah. Oh, right. Man. October 1996, by the way, is when that apparently happened. Just you'd have to look up more if you want to know more about it. It's on their Wikipedia page. But there's a special on YouTube about a news special. Yeah, it's they have a whole documentary. It's a very crazy, interesting watch. Mm-hmm. You don't want to take a bath after you watch it, but it's yeah, for sure. Weird, man. Yep. But he said that, and then how do you get worse than that, Greg? Well, buckle up. In the New York Post, Phil Mushnick, because who else,
POS.
Responded, but what I said at the top of the segment. That's one big pile of shit. But he responded by writing, quote, Ted Turner should watch his mouth about last week's mass suicide being a good way to get rid of a few nuts. If not for America's lunatic fringe and the disaffected, his WCW televised pro wrestling would be out of business, end quote.
Good Lord.
What? Oh, my God. So you're comparing cultists who committed mass suicide to...
Because they thought that, I think God was on the back of Haley's comment or something like that.
Yeah,
something like that.
I get all these quotes, or quotes. I get all these cults confused. So, yeah, I'm sure. But he compares those people to people who like to watch pro wrestling. Got it.
I must be sick in the damn head then.
Yeah.
Lock my ass up.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was the very first edition and possibly the last of That Is One Big Pile of Shit. But
you do enough research, I guarantee you it's not the last.
Yeah, I know. I might. I hope we don't run into too much of this crap in the future. But
look, I never ever thought you would ever talk about that Heaven's Gate thing on here ever.
Yeah, right. Well, it's Ted Turner and Phil Mushnick. So Ted Turner, I don't know much about him. I know he said some things in the past that are just like, wow. Okay,
and who hasn't?
Yeah. Especially somebody that's been in the public eye that much, but yeah, he's a piece of work himself.
We have presidential candidates who've said questionable stuff. So tell me another one. Jeez.
I think every presidential candidate has said some questionable stuff. But yeah, Ted Turner is a real piece of work. But either way, and Phil Mushnick, everything that guy writes is just like
he's the Dave Meltzer of like quote unquote real news.
Yeah. Well, it's not even that he does report fake stuff, but at the same time, his big problem is that he has a burning hatred for wrestling to the point of where he not only lies about it, but he insults anyone who watches it or has anything to do with it to a point where it's like, dude, settle the F down, man. Were you touched inappropriately by a wrestler? Like, good God, man. I don't know. Phil Mushnick
I still want to pay some good money to see Jim Cornette just beat the piss out of him.
Yeah, right. That's one I wouldn't mind, getting the baseball bat out. But either way, that does it for the news and notes. I think it's time to get into the event at hand. Speaking of using weapons on each other. So let's take our next break. When we come back, it's ECW's Barely Legal.
Follow the Main Event Marks at facebook.com/Main Event Marks Pod, on Twitter at Main Event _Marks, and on Instagram at Main Event _Marks and at Main Event Collector.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. My name is Thomas, and what's your name?
I'm Alan. Yeah. We're brothers.
That's right.
Yeah. Same mother and father.
Your room was...
we shared a room.
Shared a room?
We shared a room.
Thought I knew your face.
Yeah, we go way back, mate. Yeah.
We should do a podcast then.
We have.
We do a podcast?
We do a podcast.
What's it called?
The Broadcast. Yeah, that was planned.
Yeah, well.
What are we doing?
Well, we cover all different things in the world of pop culture. We're talking about comic books, we're talking about professional wrestling, and we're talking about movies. Go back and watch classic retro wrestling events, the likes of WWE, WCW, and if you do like that, you can check us out on Apple iTunes, also on Podbean, Anchor, and on Podknife. Also check us out on Twitter at The Broadcast. That's BROKAST. I nearly stuffed up the ending.
No, it's all right. Good on you.
Yeah. Instagram also at The Broadcast Podcast.
Remember, we don't spell it with a C. We spell it with a K.
Sorry, mate.
Take it easy.
The Main Event Marks are available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Find all of our links on our link tree at linktr.ee/Main Event Marks.
And we're back.
We're back.
It's ECW Barely Legal 1997. I say 97. It was the one and only. They never had another Barely Legal. But
yeah, I always wondered why. I mean, wouldn't you celebrate your first ever pay-per-view by having it like an annual thing?
Right. Yeah, it's like the one name you abandon is your inaugural pay-per-view name. Okay, that's
which is funny because the path to get there was like very rough. I think they would have held on to it.
I know, right? Hey, it's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him. Well, it didn't, but either way.
Oh, it depends on how you look at payoff.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. But either way, this took place April 13th, 1997. The venue is the ECW Arena in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and the attendance was 1,170, which is more than they got into TNA shows back in the
Probably
day.
a legit sellout for that arena.
Yeah, they squeezed people in there. Apparently, before the show, they gave the place a new paint job. They got a brand new ring. They tried to shine up that pig.
Also, I heard it was like blistering hot in that arena.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it was. It was probably a sweat box.
No,
I'm
not gonna say it.
Good God. But the buy rate for this was 0.26, which amounted to 104,000 buys. Not terrible for a company that, I don't think they had nationwide TV at this time. And if they did, it was on at midnight on a Saturday or whatever. But per our usual arrangement, we start the show off with Joey Styles in the ring, welcoming us to the show. He's eventually interrupted by the Dudley Boys of Bubba Ray, Devon, Sign Guy, and Studley Dudley, a.k.a. Joel Gertner. They chase Styles out of the ring, and Devon goes off on the crowd, saying that it's time to testify. Now, we finally run the open for the show. After this, we come back to Joel Gertner.
Does Devon know they're in Philly?
Say what?
Does Devon know they're in Philly?
Yeah, why?
He said testify, and I'm pretty sure most of those fans play for the other side, but...
Oh, for God's sake.
No. I think it would be the devil's sake.
Yeah.
I'm getting a letter. Okay.
Good God. But Joel Gertner introduces the Dudleys.
The crowd, how they react to this stuff? You can't call me wrong.
Yeah, well, there's a chant they do at the end of the show that we'll get into that's...
Maybe morally wrong, I'll give you that, but not wrong.
Right. This first match is the Dudley Boys of Bubba Ray and Devon with Joel Gertner and Sign Guy Dudley in their corner, defending the ECW Tag Team titles against the Eliminators of Saturn and Cronus. Goes for 6 minutes, 11 seconds. The Dudley Boys bail out right away. Sign Guy attacks the Eliminators and eats a total elimination. And did he eat that?
Yeah, man. I thought he was dead.
They almost totally eliminated his life.
His head
the Eliminators completely dominate the Dudleys, hitting the total elimination on Bubba Ray and pin him to win the titles. Uncle Dave gave this 2 3/4 stars. I give it 2.5. I would have rated it higher, but the Dudleys basically got dominated in this match. What say you?
I gave it 2.5 or 2. I was between 2 and 3. But I said I probably would have gave it 3 if it was a little bit longer. I was actually getting into it, believe that or not. I don't think I've ever said that about a CW match. I was getting into it. And it's over before I knew it.
I enjoyed it, but it also just felt like, and I realize they're putting them over, they're making them the champions, but it didn't really feel like a match as much as a showcase for the Eliminators. Because the Dudleys did nothing, and the Eliminators just did flips and dives and their finishers throughout the match, and that was it.
Well, I got news for you, dude. That's all they do.
Don't get me wrong, it looked cool, but it's just like, it wasn't really much of a competition. Either way, after the match, Joel Gertner gets in and claims that on his scoring system, the Dudley Boys are still the tag team champions. He then eats a total elimination as the crowd goes nuts. And I'll tell you what, man, seeing the way he went down, I think he needs to visit Victoria's Secret for a brawl.
Good Lord.
I'm getting a letter.
Him and Evil Uno.
You mean, hey, have you ever seen Joel Gertner and Evil Uno in the same place at the same time? It might be the same dude.
Nor have I ever seen Evil Uno unmasked. So yeah, you have a couple of points there.
Exactly. So it very well could be the guy. Pasty, little hair on the chest, and he's got man boobs. So there you go. Have you ever seen that movie 8 Crazy Nights?
Yeah, I know where you're going.
Yeah, all I could think of with him is, hey, Jelly Jugs, next time you come onto my court, wear a bra. And then the other guy's like, he's just kidding, son. You got very nice boobs.
I like how we have Christmas Story and Jewish people have that.
Yeah.
It just doesn't seem fair to me.
And look, I love them. It's objectively a bad movie, but I effing love it. I unapologetically, unironically love that movie. But yeah, it's not good. Hey, well, you know, they finally got a Hallmark movie, man. I was going through like Christmas and holiday movies this past season. They've got one called The Menorah in the Middle or some crap like that. I'm like, mother of God, they ran out of Christmas stories on Hallmark, so now they're doing Hanukkah-themed movies.
I asked my buddy, so, you know, people for Christmas, they watch Christmas Story and stuff like that. What do Jewish people watch? He said that for the longest time it would be the Barbra Streisand musical special.
Oh,
that's what
God.
they watch.
I'm sorry. Well, it's okay. I'll just stick to my Star Wars Christmas special, okay?
I'll stick to Batman Returns.
God. Now, see, personally, for Hanukkah, because in honor of my Jewish brethren, for Hanukkah, I like to watch the Rugrats holiday special. But whatever. Not a joke. That's how I learned what the hell Hanukkah was back in the day. I'm not even kidding. But anyway, getting back into this, Joey Styles sends us to a promo from the Sandman, who talks about how much beer he drinks, how many cigarettes he smokes, and how extreme he is. He then repeatedly bashes himself in the forehead with his own Singapore cane to make himself bleed.
Real man of genius.
And why? What does that accomplish?
It accomplishes him looking badass, Greg. God, what do you not get about this?
A lot, apparently.
How dare you question the Sandman?
Me, right?
I was a fan of his when I was a kid. Not a kid, but like a teenager.
Yeah, and then you realized he sucks.
Probably because I love his music.
I liked it when he first came to WWE for the WWECW, because he was like, he didn't do much. He did a couple cool moves and then got the F out, and I was like, cool, okay, cool.
He got a little in shape too.
Yeah, right. He didn't quite have quite as big of a beer gut. And he wasn't wearing just random sweatpants this time either. They were like, can you at least put on some jeans? Like, God.
And Mick Foley's kind of got that cornered.
Yeah. But now we go to Chris Candido in the ring wearing a sling because he partially tore his bicep. This is the second week in a row we talk about.
Out, no doubt.
Yeah.
Because he was a workout enthusiast. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, right. Well, he was filming his next workout tape and he got hurt.
What's a tape?
He was Skip, right? So
yeah.
he was. It was Skip to my Lou.
No, what's a tape?
Oh well, what is a tape? I don't. People Google VHS. Anyway, but yeah, this is the second week in a row we've talked about a Chris Candido injury. You realize that?
I do now.
Yeah. Fortunately, this one didn't kill him, but still. But because of this injury, he had to be replaced in tonight's main event. Candido says, by the way, I like how it's like, we don't have Chris Candido anymore. I know, Stevie Richards.
Look, no disrespect to Chris Candido, but why the hell was he in the main event to begin with?
He was a big deal in ECW for whatever reason.
Yeah,
I think it's because he's a former NWA champ, I assume. I mean, he was a good wrestler. I don't know. And he was BFFs.
I'm not knocking his skills, but
these BFFs with Shane Douglas, who was another top guy. I don't know. The only thing I could think. ECW treated Chris Candido like a top guy. I'll say that. So, whatever. The fans liked him. Candido says that he left Eastern Championship Wrestling back in 1993. He traveled the world, wrestled at WrestleMania, came back.
No, he didn't. He wrestled the pre-show of WrestleMania. But anyway, I digress.
He was like, I defended the tag titles at WrestleMania, or I wrestled for the tag titles.
He won them. I don't think he defended them.
Yeah, I think it was that. I think he said he wrestled for the tag titles at WrestleMania. I was like, I don't remember that, but okay, I'll take your word for it.
It was on a pre-show. I think it was that picture you sent me the other day, how you watched wrestling back in the day on the TV Guide channel. That's what it was on.
Oh, nice. Yeah. But anyway, he said now he's back and now he's hurt. He goes on about how he's better than everyone in the main event, and then Lance Storm comes out for his match.
Raven was in the main event, wasn't he?
I mean, that was technically the main event. So yeah. If he's talking about that triple threat, I'd still have to go with Funk. Funk was better than him. I don't know. I mean, he was better than Sandman. He was better than
In
Richards.
my opinion, these are Funk's dwindling years, but yeah, he's still better.
Right. But now we've got Lance Storm versus Rob Van Dam in 10 minutes, 10 seconds. Storm
This
has
was a thrown-on match too, by the way.
which is pretty pathetic. You just throw on Rob Van Dam, like no build. Like, really? But Storm has a sweet bleach blonde rat tail.
So ratty.
Hell yeah, man. Like, he looked like every trailer park kid from the early 90s, man. I'm telling you.
He looked like every kid wanted to be Sting from the 90s.
Or that. That too. But RVD's first ECW theme, by the way, freaking sucked. I did not watch this on Peacock, full disclosure. I watched it. I watched a feed of it where it had like the actual themes. And so I got the real song. This was pre-Walk by Pantera. Whatever song this was sucked. But either way, a chair gets involved in this one per usual. Lance actually kicks out of a 5-star frog splash and makes a comeback. RVD gets to the ropes to break a single leg crab from Storm. In the end, Van Dam hits a Van Daminator, followed by a standing moonsault to win. Uncle Dave only gave this 2.5 stars. I gave it 3. I love this match. What say you?
I gave it 3. I thought it was probably the best, well, one of the best matches of the night.
For sure, yeah. Lance Storm is so underratedly good. I don't think he was ever bad. Rob Van Dam is obviously like one of the best. So this was.
I think he may be the best
ECW's
ever produced, honestly.
Yeah, right. He was definitely he'd be my pick. I mean, Dreamer was okay. Raven was good. Douglas was good, but yeah, I mean, and obviously Taz was really good. But yeah, Van Dam has got to be like the top of the heap. But RVD wanders around the ring for a bit before Lance Storm puts his hand out to shake. Van Dam thanks him for the great match, but says he's not about that, and he won't give Lance any respect. RVD says that he only sells out to himself and says that he's being held back by Paul Heyman, kept in ECW.
Hard to argue that.
Yeah, I don't know if, I mean, was Heyman really keeping him in ECW, or is just like nobody hiring you?
I assume he was keeping him from WCW.
Yeah.
Because without saying it, he loved WWE, you can tell.
Yeah. So, I don't know, man. But Joey Styles now sends us to a video package for Terry Funk. Paul Heyman's voiceover tells us that Terry was just given an award in Philadelphia, and he's wanting to win one more world title in the name of his dead father, Dory Funk Sr.
Before he retires, inevitably, next month. For the 7th time.
Yeah, 7 of 20.
Pretty sure he retired more than Roy Jones Jr. did.
I will say this. I don't like most video packages by ECW, but this was, I thought, really well done. I don't know who put this one together, but they did a good job on it. But now we go to this. It is a trios match between the teams of Great Sasuke, Gran Hamada, and Masato Yukishuji. Okay, that guy. Versus BWO Japan, which is Terry Boy, Dick to Go, and Takamichinoku. It's Dick Togo. I know. Don't at me. This goes just shy of 17 minutes. When Sasuke, Hamada, and Yakashuji enter, they get streamers thrown at them. Freaking litters the damn ring. In the end, Sasuke hits a standing powerbomb like an awesome bomb on Taka, followed by a tiger suplex to win. Can you guess Uncle Dave's rating for this before I even say it?
4.5.
Holy crap, you're spot on. 4.5 stars from Uncle Dave.
I had a feeling.
I gave this 3. What say you?
I gave it 3. Have you ever noticed, by the way, he's got like a fetish with Japanese wrestlers? Kind of like creeps too with Japanese schoolgirls.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just now coming to me that he has a slight obsession. Yeah. Plain as day. Dude, it was a good match, but mother of God, a damn near 5-star score. Get the F out, man.
I actually wrote in my notes here, bet Uncle Dave gives us 5 stars.
Well, you're almost there, so I'll just say
That is correct.
by the way, that Yakashuji or whatever, or Yakashiji, I guess. What the hell ever. He dressed like an elf. I don't know why. But yeah, it was a weird outfit.
It's kind of funny thinking about these guys will all be in WWE soon. And we just touched on what they'll be doing.
Oh yeah, on the BWO side, yeah. I like how they have a BWO Japan, like NWO Japan. But, much like ECW, theirs is with Michinoku Pro, which is like the bottom of the barrel in Japanese wrestling. Good grief. But after the match, though, Dick To Go and Gran Hamada get into a fight before being separated. We now go to a black and white promo for Stevie Richards. He says that he was used and abused by a man that he idolized, Raven. But tonight, he can prove that he's still his own man and win the ECW World Title. Sure, Jan. But he lets us know that the fun and games are over tonight when he steps into the ring. And Stevie flips his hair back, color comes onto the screen like the freaking Wizard of Oz. And then Blue Meanie walks in behind him doing a Scott Hall impression.
No, he was doing a blue guy impression.
Yeah.
Say hello to the blue guy.
I like how he's like, the fun and games are over. And then you get a painted up, pasty fat guy in a belly shirt walking in behind you doing a Scott Hall impression. Like, shut the F up,
I
man.
always said parodies are funny, but man, this was stupid.
I never got, I chuckled at the BWO at first, and then I was like, dumb. But whatever. Like I said, I was not an ECW guy, so whatever. But before the next match, Shane Douglas comes out with Francine and his personal security. He puts himself over and puts the crowd down. Talks about breaking Gary Wolf's neck, and they show Gary sitting at ringside in a neck brace. And this one is Shane Douglas with Francine. He's defending the ECW World Television Title against Pitbull number 2, Anthony Durrani. This one goes 20 minutes, 43 seconds. So Pitbull number 2 rushes in and jumpstarts this one. He works Douglas's neck a lot because of what happened to Pitbull number 1. Douglas eventually turns the tables and hits pile driver after pile driver on Pitbull number 2 before doing submissions on his neck. When Shane is outside of the ring, Gary Wolf hops the rail and beats him up before Shane's security take him off to the back. To the back!
To the back!
Pitbull number 2 brings in a section of security railing into the ring, but it backfires on him because, of course, tables and chairs get involved in this one. Douglas blasts Pitbull number 2 with the belt a few times. He still makes a comeback, and Chris Candido gets involved. Finally, Douglas hits an over-the-head, belly-to-belly suplex off the ropes and gets the win to retain the titles. Uncle Dave only gave this 3/4 of a freaking star. I don't know, man. Like, technically, the match was, like, okay, but as a blood feud match, I give it 3 stars. What say you?
I gave it 2.
I thought it was fun, and, like, I don't know. I liked it because of the story to the match. It was like, he broke the one Pitbull's neck, the other Pitbull worked his neck, and then they kept going back and forth.
Working the neck!
And I don't know. It just, I liked it. I felt like this is what this match should have been. Like, they actually hated each other. But after the match, the Masked Man comes out wearing Rick Rude's robe, because this was Rick Rude the whole time. And he makes out with Francine. Douglas attacks him and rips the mask off to reveal that it's actually Brian Lee. Swerve, bro! Shane turns, and Rick Rude is actually right behind him in the ring, hits him, and Brian Lee chokeslams him as the crowd loses their mind. This was kind of cool. I like this. But yeah, this was, I think, one of Brian Lee's last appearances, if not his last appearance in
this was no Halloween Phantom, so.
Yeah, right. Yeah, why is Rick Rude always showing up in a damn mask? And it's all and the joke is always we absolutely know who it is, but he's still wearing a mask.
Yeah.
Whatever. But up next, we go to Taz and Bill Alfonso backstage. Taz tells Sabu that he's going to bust him up and choke him out. he tells Sabu that he had better fear Taz. And that brings us to this. It is Taz with Bill Alfonso taking on Sabu. It was just shy of 18 minutes.
I get that it's not for the title, but why wasn't this the main event?
Why was this not the main event?
Yeah.
I think you answered it. Well, because, I mean, the main event
You
was
could
a
have had
bigger
the
story.
triple threat and then this, and then the main event.
Yeah, you could have split it up.
This was a
that's for sure.
huge thing.
Right, and this wasn't the end of it, by the way, for people that don't know. I mean, this feud went on for a while, and we'll get to it.
No, this is the
but-
match that finally happened.
Right. But Taz busts Sabu open with his bare hands pretty damn early on. Pretty sure Sabu's nose is broken. He keeps freaking holding his nose throughout most of this match. These two beat the piss out of each other. This was the epitome of a grudge match, blood feud. Sabu actually gets Taz's Katahajime on him, and Taz suplexes
And it
out
is
of it.
ugly.
Yeah. He throws Sabu around a bit more before locking in the Katahajime and winning with Sabu passing out. Uncle Dave gave this 3 1/4 stars. I yet again gave this 3 stars. What say you?
3.
This is the only ECW show I've ever given multiple 3-star ratings to anything. So there you go, man.
Well, they started hot with his pay-per-view and then declined after.
Yeah. Well, EMTs check on Sabu, and he hops up before chasing them off. Taz grabs a mic and tells Sabu he choked him out, and he's not blowing smoke up Sabu's ass, but he took Taz to the limit. He tells Sabu that anytime he wants a rematch, he's got it. They shake hands and hug because brothers gotta hug. And then they celebrate together before Rob Van Dam comes back out and jumps Taz from behind. Sabu tells RVD off, and then when Taz is about to jump RVD, Sabu jumps Taz. Together they beat Taz down, and Sabu dives on him to put him through a table outside of the ring.
There's a shock.
Yeah, I know. And then Sabu locks Taz in the Katahajime yet again. For people that don't know, by the way, it's Taz mission. But Bill Alfonso gets in the ring with RVD and Sabu, takes off his Team Taz gear, and reveals a Sabu t-shirt. He celebrates with Sabu and Rob Van Dam before telling Taz that he owns him, and Taz cost him a lot of money tonight. RVD then grabs the mic and basically begs WWF or WCW to hire him. So I don't know much about the future of this other than the fact that I know the weirdest part of this was Bill Alfonso owned his colors of black and orange. So Taz started wearing like purple and red for a while.
Stupid.
Yeah, that was the dumbest part of this whole thing. Everything else was cool. But how do you own colors? It's not like it's a football team.
You remember that feud in WCW when they owned the letter T?
God, yeah. Dude, do you think this was the inspiration? Yeah,
I mean,
Russo saw this.
it's right there.
Yeah, Vince Russo was like, bro, they feuded over colors, bro. Let's feud over a letter. It's a damn Sesame Street feud. Anyway, since these last two matches are basically a combined main event, you want to take our second to last break here?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's combine them, bro. But we'll take our second to last break here. When we come back, it's the final two matches, which are just basically one long main event almost. We'll get to that right after this. Follow the Main Event Marks at facebook.com/Main Event Marks Pod, on Twitter at Main Event _Marks, and on Instagram at Main Event _Marks and at Main Event Collector.
What's up, everybody? I am the hardest part of the ring, the host of the Apron Bump podcast. Ugh. Another wrestling podcast. How many times can I listen to fans tell me who needs a push, who doesn't need a push, who brings Vince's coffee these days? Enough! The Apron Bump is about the journey. It's about nostalgia. It's about discovering new forms of wrestling to really tickle your pickle as a wrestling fan. The podcast brings you reviews of wrestling events all over the world, whether it's WWF, WWE, WCW, ECW. We even cover the golden eras of Ring of Honor, Progress, TNA. and more promotions in the future as well. New episodes every Wednesday. Bump day, yeah? Go to apronbump.com or go to your favorite podcast platform or YouTube and subscribe today for the most diverse, fan-friendly wrestling podcast in the world. I'm Hard.
The Main Event Marks are available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Find all of our links on our link tree at linktr.ee/Main Event Marks. And we're back.
We're back.
Joey Styles grabs the mic to introduce his guest color commentator for the following match, Tommy Dreamer. Dreamer comes out with Beulah McGillicuddy, and the crowd chants for her before chanting, "Show your tits! Show your tits!" What were you saying about Philadelphia earlier?
Bro, they were right, bro.
Bro, boo!
You should whip them out, bro.
Bro, whip them out, bro. Bro, she's going to rip off her shirt. It's going to be gone forever, bro. Why? Man, every single time we talk about Philadelphia, by the way, it's never in a positive manner.
Well, they give you the ammo right there for it.
This is just a disgusting
It's not like we're making
city.
it up.
Yeah. I don't think we've yet reviewed that. Which Royal Rumble was it that was in Philly where Roman just got crapped on?
You don't want to say.
Which one?
2015.
Okay. Yeah, we haven't reviewed that one yet. But man, that crowd was like, damn, they booed The Rock. Like, isn't this the same crowd that booed Santa Claus?
Yep. There's a couple of funny videos after the Eagles lost the Super Bowl this year of guys destroying their TVs. Man, dude. You guys are nuts out there. Makes me not even want to go out this year, but
anyway, this dance where the winner faces Raven for the ECW World Title. It is Stevie Richards. He's got Blue Meanie, or the Blue Guy, and Hollywood Nova in his corner, taking on the Sandman and Terry Funk. This goes 19 minutes and 10 seconds. I love the contrast, by the way, how BWO comes out first, goofy and dancing with their stupid song. The Sandman comes out to Enter Sandman by freaking Metallica, gets everybody freaking out. And then Terry Funk comes out to the smooth sounds of Desperado by the Eagles. Like, could you have more contrast between these three? Like, good God. But either way, the Sandman disappears at one point mid-match and comes back from the backstage area carrying a ladder. This is a big sloppy-ass brawl. When everyone is down, Stevie tunes up the band and hits a Stevie kick on Sandman for a near fall, and then hits one on Funk for another near fall. I like that, by the way. Yeah, tune up the band in the corner and hit a super kick to remind everybody that the bigger stars are on the other channel.
Right? It's been happening for years, dude.
Yep. But Sandman ends up disappearing again, and
Dude,
later...
this whole gimmick of theirs is reminding that the stars are on the other channel. So
yeah. It's just like Joey Styles would take pot shots at Nitro or whatever. It's like, all that would have made me do is go, oh yeah, I got to tune back into Nitro. Anyway, but Sandman disappears again for a while, and when he comes back out, he's got a trash can this time. Good metaphor.
yeah, that's that word, a metaphor.
Yeah. Stevie gets pinned after taking a double power bomb from both Funk and Sandman. I like how Stevie freaking Richards, they couldn't keep him down until both of them double teamed him. Okay. But
Unstoppable Stevie Richards.
Of course. But in the end, Sandman gets wrapped in barbed wire. Funk puts a trash can.
Of course.
Yeah. Funk puts a trash can over Sandman's head. Stevie comes back out to super kick Sandman, and then Funk hits a moonsault on him. Ugliest damn moonsault I ever did see, for the pin, and he wins. Okay, I'm gonna ask this again. What score do you think Uncle Dave gave this?
4.
Wow, you're 2 for 2. 4 stars.
Because the way you asked them, like, you had to have given it a great score, and I don't think he was going to give it a 5. So
No, yeah, but 4 effing stars. For God's sake, I gave it 2.5. I thought it was okay. What say you?
I barely gave it 2.
Yeah, Sandman sucks. Funk was okay in this match. Richards. Richards actually did some wrestling moves, so good for him.
I think Richards carried his match, if you ask me, but
I know it's the weirdest damn thing we will say on this podcast is this match was carried by Stevie effing Richards. Even though he was getting his kicked in through half of it, but still. Look, he understood the assignment, okay? He knew why he was there.
If the old man looked really good.
Yeah, right. Look, you were out there to take the pin, all right? But Raven gives 0 time for Funk to breathe. He's instantly out there when the final bell hits.
I thought that was brilliant. Why wouldn't you?
Right.
Why the hell would you give your opponent time to breathe?
Yeah,
I was glad they did that.
Well, to anybody that doesn't remember, Raven's theme was "Come Out and Play" by The Offspring, and if anybody knows like the intro to that, it's kind of a long, drawn out intro, whatever. Freaking Raven was out there before the actual song kicks into them. Say you got to keep them separated. Like before they even say that, he's like, action has started. So 0 time. But he blasts Terry Funk in the face with the ECW title to start with. And I will say, I love the way this match played out. As a match, it wasn't fantastic, but I love the way it played out. But it is Raven versus Terry Funk for the ECW World Heavyweight title, 7 minutes, 20 seconds. Funk is a bloody mess, and Raven is taking his time with him. Raven lays Funk on a table outside and dives out on top of him, and I think he landed on his damn head. The doctors try to check on Funk, and Raven knocks him out because reasons. Or, well, I guess I gotta say because.
Me, right?
A group of people dressed like Raven come out and they have a big woman with them named Reggie Bennett. You know who the hell this is?
Nope.
Frickin', she looks like, do you remember Mickey Knuckles?
No.
Anybody? Okay, she was Moose Knuckle there for a while. Like,
Okay, her, I remember, yeah.
Okay, that's Mickey Knuckles. Anybody, if you want to Google, I have no idea who the hell Reggie Bennett is, but freaking Styles is putting it over like freaking Macho Man just popped up. Like, my God, Reggie Bennett is out here for Raven. And then she hits Terry Funk with a chair and power bombs him. And he keeps saying, Reggie Bennett.
I was getting flashbacks to when Deonna Purrazzo showed up in Impact after she got fired from WWE. It's Deonna Purrazzo, oh my God. Like, yeah.
At least, yeah, I get that point. That's you're not wrong. But at least they did something with her and they made her into a star for their standards anyway. But as far as I've never heard of Reggie Bennett before or after this. And she's very indescript. Like, she just looks like she should be on the back of a Harley.
Wow.
No disrespect to her. I just don't know who the hell she is. But she hits Funk with a chair and power bombs, and meanwhile Styles losing his mind. Like, oh my God, Reggie Bennett is here. Reggie Bennett hit Terry Funk. Reggie Bennett powerbomb Terry Funk. It's like, okay. And?
Right.
But Raven then grabs a mic and tells Tommy Dreamer that he's going to end Funk's career right in front of Dreamer, who then stands up and is about to go after Raven, but Big Dick Dudley blasts
Hell
the
yeah.
trash can. Joey Styles made a point to let us know that he's back from prison. So that's a thing. Raven hits the even flow on the referee now because
Me, right?
The referee looked at him wrong.
I guess so. And Big Dick goes to chokeslam Dreamer. Tommy kicks him in the
Big Dick's gonna choke something, huh? Okay.
Tommy Dreamer kicks Big Dick in his big dick. And throws Dudley off the commentary stage, because for people that don't know, they're on this giant platform. And he throws him through like 3 or 4 tables that are stacked up. Dreamer then starts laying out the members of Raven's Nest before coming into the ring to brawl with Raven. Dreamer hits a DDT on Raven, and Terry Funk covers him for the 2 count. But the timekeeper rings the bell, completely just on the end of this match.
I'm watching this, I'm like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah. Like, this put such a damper on the real finish, because the real finish happens like 2 seconds later. They get up, start brawling around. Funk hits the small package, pins him for real this time, and then they ring the bell. He wins. Uncle Dave gave it 3 1/4 stars. Like, God dang, dude.
Wow.
I gave it 2. There wasn't much to this match. It was a bunch of gobbledygook. like I said, I liked the way it was set up. I wouldn't have changed it, but it wasn't a good match. What say you?
I gave it 2 as well. I started thinking, why couldn't this just been a fatal 4-way? Wouldn't that make some more sense?
Yeah, right. Whatever. But a sweaty and bloody Terry Funk joins Tommy Dreamer in the crowd with the ECW title to celebrate. Uncle Dave says that 53-year-old Terry Funk stole the show with a great performance and history-making title win. He also says that the show wasn't perfect, but it has to be considered a major success by ECW. It's believed that the show was probably a money loser financially due to it not being carried by one of the 2 major carriers, as well as other smaller carriers. Paul Heyman was telling people before the show that it probably wouldn't make any money, and the goal was to put on the best show possible and hope that the other carriers would get on board for the second pay-per-view in the future. And I think they did. But Joey Styles handled almost the entire show on commentary by himself and was pretty much great the whole time, getting over all the major key points, all of the wrestlers for the first-time viewers, and even managed to help explain all the Japanese wrestlers better than anyone else does when foreigners show up in the WWF or WCW. Is he including Mike Tenay in there? Because Mike Tenay runs down their whole damn resume.
Next Experiment wasn't a thing yet, so.
Oh, okay. Well, either way, that does it for that show. I think we're going to take our final break. When we come back, we're going to hit our final ratings and tell you what's coming up next week on the podcast.
Follow the Main Event Marks at facebook.com/Main Event Marks Pod, on Twitter at Main Event _Marks, and on Instagram at Main Event _Marks and at Main Event Collector.
Hey gang, it's Commissioner Cooper of TSS Fantasy. We are the fantasy show of the people. Expert fantasy advice, free contests, leading expert medical and legal analysis, and most importantly, you. Interact with us on all social media platforms or check us out at tssfantasy.com. You can hear us on Spotify, Apple and Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and many more. Check out the fun today and be a part of the most interactive fantasy show around. TSS Fantasy, the fantasy show of the people.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan McCarthy, and I'm the host of the No Credentials Required podcast. Start your work week with the Monday Drop-In, where I talk about the sports beat in the Capital District, also known as the Muddy 518, as well as Metro New York sports from an upstate point of view. I also give a life lesson from a weekly sports story, so you might learn something from that. I also have a midweek podcast where I interview different sports personalities and talk about a wide array of topics. Take a listen and subscribe on your preferred podcast app, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Also check out our social media channels on Twitter and Instagram, BellyUpNCR, and Facebook.com/BellyUpSportsNCR. We're a part of the Belly Up Sports Podcast Network in association with Godzilla Media. No credentials required, where you don't need a press pass to talk sports.
Event Marks are available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Find all of our links on our link tree at linktr.ee/Main Event Marks.
And we're back. We're going to run through this here real quick. Final ratings time. Internet Movie Database gave this an 8 out of 10. CageMatch.net gave it 8.48 out of 10. I gave it an 8 out of 10. What say you?
I gave it a C+. Pretty good for ECW pay-per-view.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Yeah, especially for an ECW pay-per-view. But yeah, that I actually had fun watching this one, which I can't say for a lot of ECW shows. So there's that. But yeah, that does it for ECW Barely Legal, man. Next week is double main event week. We're going to bring you 2 WCW shows from very different eras. The first one on April 19th. Yeah, that's for sure. The first one is WCW Spring Stampede 1998. That drops next Wednesday, April 19th. And then the bonus show next Friday on the 21st. It is WCW Thunder from April 26th, 2000. And it's David Arquette winning the WCW World Heavyweight title. Whew. That is a thing.
Yeah. This happens.
Yep. So looking at my calendar here. Okay, I'm trying to figure out when. Okay, Easter was on the 9th. Okay, so we already passed that up. So this is well past. We're not giving Jesus more crap in our podcast. that already happened. We covered Lockdown 2005 pre-Easter, and this is right after Easter. So Easter was sandwiched by two good shows, in my opinion. But that does it for us this week. We ran a little long, but hey, it was an actual good one, and we had quite a bit of news to cover. But thank you for joining me today, Greg.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see you next week when we hit you with double the WCW for the bonus show week. It's Spring Stampede 98 and Thunder from April 26, 2000.